Energy is the one sector that's taken off. Everything else kind of fell pretty significantly over the course of January. But natural gas, WTI, up significantly. Natural gas up by 30%, which is just nuts to think in the space of 1 month it does that. It's because of what's happening with Putin right now. And yesterday, the White House was meeting with Qatar to try and figure out ways to get more of their gas to Europe. What I don't understand is why anybody's surprised by this, why Germany, why the rest of Europe has left itself in this position to be so beholden to Russian gas, knowing that Putin has no problem using this, and he's used it before, he'll use it again.
Right. Well, Germany's always had this philosophy of, be willing to apply sanctions or have a military deterrent at the same time that you try to sort of get along with Russia. And they like this sort of sweet and sour approach. And they haven't built, therefore, as many LNG terminals or alternative sources of energy as they could have. And meanwhile, they're trying to move to a non-nuclear green energy system. So you put all that together and it leaves you pretty exposed in the meantime. I think that, as David Victor and I have recently written, I think we need to develop a strategy or tell Putin we have the ideas in place to build a strategy to expedite the transition away from Russian oil and gas. Now, that's nothing that we can do right now for all the reasons you just mentioned, with the market's so tight and gas prices already up 30%. But you can build a plan. You can start building more LNG terminals. You can start allowing more, at least short-term, production of oil and gas in the United States. There are things you can do if you're really worried about World War III in Europe. You should be taking the energy situation more seriously than we are.
We just heard what Michael Ray was saying last night, what Christopher Wray was saying last night. Just the idea that China is really the one that we have to watch when it comes to cyber issues. You've got Putin making all this noise and Russia kind of a big focus at the moment. You mentioned the idea of World War III coming out of Europe. Where do you think, just as somebody who surveys this entire landscape, the biggest issue is going to come in 2022?
I still think Putin's at least as dangerous as China. I don't disagree with Director Wray that obviously China has greater capacity, 10 times the population, much faster growing economy, very good high-tech sector, et cetera. But I still think that Putin is a more disruptive individual. His outlook is more angry. He's got more of a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't like what's happened in the 20 years since he became president, in terms of 22 years now, in terms of NATO's movement to the east and the United States' actions as a sort of sole superpower. And I think he wants to upend a little bit of that global security architecture. Whereas I think President Xi wants to put a Chinese face on it, but largely build on the system that has essentially been the goose that laid the golden egg for China. So they'll steal, but they won't try to fundamentally change the international order, with the possible exception of Taiwan, of course, that they consider that issue so near and dear that I think they would risk war over that. Otherwise, I worry more about Putin.